I'm going to begin in the tradition of the Tamalpa work with an ode to your movement. Today, I find you here, still dancing inside the costume of your skin, finding the steps of your feet in the rhythm of your breath. I watch you shifting between pools of sunlight and shadow spilling everywhere. I feel you still so alive in the aftermath of your life's storm. Imagine raindrops glistening on your heart, tree branches falling across your rib bones, your lungs held tenderly between these stones. Breaking through the silent, empty space, you trace each birth and death as you come and go. You come and go. You come and go and rise and fall and rise again. And in the pathway left behind of your dance is something so utterly profound and so utterly simple that even God falls in love with us again. Mm-hmm. Thank you for coming. I have a very long story to tell about Tamalpa Institute. And yesterday, as I was coming up here, as we were finishing getting ready for your comings, I caught this last snippet on this NPR radio interview, and I have no idea really what it was about or who it involved, but I heard a great last line or two. And it went something like this: if you want to figure out how to tell a great story or write a great story, then you've got to figure out what to leave out. So I've been trying to figure out what do I leave out. And what I'm going to do is just give you a little snapshot of some moments about Tamalpa's history. Yeah. Okay, so I want to pay homage and really give thanks to my father, Daria Halprin, who created this magnificent site. Yeah. He created a place not only for Anna and our whole family, but for countless people from all over the world to come to have transformative experiences, to discover ways to make really great, meaningful art. Yeah. So starting in the 1950s, that's going to be our first snapshot. Larry found this land. He built the deck and the studio for Anna to do her dance work on. They had come from the East Coast, bringing with them their inspirations from Bauhaus studies at Harvard, Larry, his passionate connection to Israel, and his dream of a land-based utopian society, his incredible love for nature and for drawing. And Anna, who brought her earliest and quite remarkable childhood calling to dance. She was a dancer from the get-go, clearly. She brought her inspirations from her studies with great dance educator Margaret Dobler out of Wisconsin. Her interactions with Frances Boas in New York, who did a very unique and radical work with multicultural racial groups, I think back in the 30s. So that was pretty early on. And she also brought with her desire to break free from the East Coast dance scene. She had the feeling that there was a new dance to be discovered, and she wanted to discover it. So they brought all that with them from the East Coast to this place, which has been an incredible place for all kinds of people to gather over the decades, to study, to collaborate, to exchange. It's also been an incredible inspiration for the Halprin family. My sister Rana and I have danced here on this deck and in this studio since we were about this high. We've both walked down these stairs for decades to rehearse in Anna's performance company and then tour with that company through theaters all over the world. Our children have been inspired by the place, and now the third generation of grandchildren are brought here to begin to dance. It's been a place of refuge and inspiration, not only for our family, but for countless others. And it's been a challenge to keep opening that up for people to come and work here. A beautiful challenge. 1960s. There was a revolution. How many of you here were part of the 1960s? So, yeah, oh good. There are a lot of us, that's really great. 1960s, there was a revolution in this country, and here in the San Francisco Bay Area, it was showing up in the hippie movement, in music, in arts, and dance. And this site became a place for people to gather, to break boundaries, to make new experiments, to try wild and crazy things. I think that was when we first took our clothes off to dance naked. And Bill Graham asked us to come and perform with body paint at the Fillmore with all of the great musicians at the time's play. At the time, we thought it was perfectly natural. Some incredible innovators of the times gathered here during the 60s, and I want to name just a few of them. I hope for some of you it will ring a bell, because it speaks to the rich embedded history here of the arts. Young, talented dance students who went on to become great innovators in their own right. Meredith Monk, Yvonne Rainer, Simone Forte. Did I forget anybody? No. Yeah. Some of the great musicians of the postmodern movement: John Cage, Terry Riley, Morton Sabatini. Artists: Bruce Conner and Charles Ross, the great sculptor. All kinds of interesting psychologists began to gather there to begin to kind of get a listen into what was going on with this new practice of arts, which was beginning to engage the whole person. And that wasn't only for entertainment or to follow a prescribed formalized style, but that also really included non-trained dancers as well. Fritz Perls came here in the 1960s, the founder of Gestalt therapy, an incredibly and lifelong influence on me. And so these great three circles began to be formed in the 60s around this work, like circles in these incredible old-growth redwood trees. The circle of Anna's new dance movement, the circle of Larry's environmental design, which was also based on this notion of people finding a way to express and live which would connect them to their bodies, their feelings, their imaginations, and their habitat. And Fritz Perls in this incredibly provocative new Gestalt therapy. And he spent years here working with those of us who were part of the Dancers Workshop company that Anna had formed at that time in a remarkable Gestalt therapy dance laboratory. It changed the work, and it certainly changed me significantly. So we were boundary breaking, we were experimenting, we were breaking every rule we could think of. We were expressing ourselves all over the place. We were spilling with cathartic, you name it. That was the 60s and the early 70s. We were doing it with our clothes on and our clothes off, and we were doing it with other dancers. You know what I mean. I mean dancing. So, as the work and what was going on here was beginning to emerge out of the 60s and early 70s, I began to feel that something more could happen with the intersection that had become so strong and interesting between Anna's work in dance, Larry's work in environmental ways of being and designing and living, and Fritz's Gestalt therapy. And I myself needed to ground and stabilize in my own artistic practice and psychology. I felt by the mid-70s that we needed to search for a coherent rationale, a system that would still honor diversity, improvisation, risk-taking, and that would still be grounded in the real lives of people, but that would also allow us to come out of this remarkable site where all these remarkable things were happening and transport something back into our daily lives that would make a difference. So as I needed to search for this grounding and this stabilization between art and psychology, I approached Anna, and I proposed to her that we make a shift out of kind of the dancer's workshop era, and that we turn more clearly toward education and towards the search for a system that would still be a living, growing, evolving organism. And after some debate, I finally convinced her, and we co-founded Tamalpa Institute in 1978. Yes. And at that time, students from all over the world had started coming here. They had heard about what was going on here. From all over the world, students were starting to come. And I became really interested in how could we develop an educational system out of all of these decades of research, living research. And so in the 90s, we really devoted ourselves to that search. And there were a group of us who were on faculty who worked together to collaborate and brought different points of view to bear on it in order to find a way to educate people in our own discoveries and to make new discoveries, so that they could take it home to their communities, their lives, their countries, and pass it on, work with other people in a sustainable and responsible way. Okay. We're in the 2000s, getting to the last couple of snapshots, the last decade. We have developed a comprehensive training program, and I'm very proud of the training program that has been developed out of this work. And a lot of people have contributed to it over the years. A training program in the life art process, and Anna coined that term, the life art process, back in the 60s and early 70s, in those workshop days when she was wanting to make that connection between dance and art practice and the real things that were going on in people's lives, challenging issues, the real feelings that were important for people to bring into their art and into their dance. So in the 2000s, in the last decade, I feel that we have stabilized a really noble practice that draws from all of these remarkable experimentations and collaborations, and I hope one that continues to remain open and impacted by the changing world around us. In the last 5 years in particular, we've opened up branches around the world. We've opened up a Tamalpa UK, and our director from Tamalpa UK is here with us today. As a matter of fact, she was here in the early part of the decade and dreamed up this idea of opening up branches in other countries, because how many of us can be here? How many of us can travel here? Some, but not enough for the reach that we want to make with our work. So we opened up a branch in South Korea, which is a territory that's just hungry for this kind of new relationship with art and psychology and environment. We opened up a branch in Germany, Tamalpa, Germany, Tamalpa, Latin America, and Tamalpa, France. And this is a way where we can transport our work to reach as many people as wish to experience it and train it. It's also a way which has allowed us to empower our students to become teachers and artists and therapists and environmentalists and social activists in their own right. That sense that, you know, the work that was started by the originators is now endowed and invested in all of the students who have trained here and who will continue to come and train here. So, when I think of all the accomplishments that I've witnessed and contributed to over all these decades, I really do feel a great cause for celebration.
Yeah.
I do. And it also feels at this particular moment in the history of the work and the Institute to mark our place in time, to mark this site and pay homage, to honor the originator of the work. Who have studied here and taught here, to claim the right to the legacy, to carry it forward in your own way, in your own way, in your own countries, in your own communities, informed by this very strong, articulated web of a shared practice and a shared language. So the roots are deep, the ground is fertile, the trunk is filled with so many circles now, from 3 to so many circles. The branches are extending out, they're full of life and full of harvest. So thank you again for coming here. I'm aware of all of the other folks around the world who have been part of Tamalpa in different ways. Through all of the decades, we've been receiving a lot of just really wonderful messages that remind us of this shared web that we've created together. And it takes your presence to help us mark this moment. So that's why I thank you, because without you here, we wouldn't really be able to feel it, or dance it, or imagine it. And I don't know that we'd be able to get ready to turn the corner to a new direction, so that we can seed the future of this institute and this work as we travel forward. I want to move forward now to the real heart and matter of the event that we've designed for you. And the next piece that is going to take the stage is a performance piece. We created a theme for our 35th anniversary year, honoring the past, celebrating the present, and seeding the future. This is the theme of the performance piece that's been designed for this event and to pay homage. It is a remarkable collaboration between 3 incredibly gifted and passionate artists who come from very different cultures and very different styles. Claudia Cuentas from Peru is a teacher, a singer, and a ritual maker. She trained here at Tamalpa Institute in 2005. She now teaches the work and brings it into her community. Do-hee Lee is from South Korea, an amazing dancer, vocalist, drummer. She also trained in the work, and she now serves on faculty at Tamalpa Institute in our training program. Jehan Kaligi, he has been around this work from the get-go. He's a poet, he's an ecologist, and he's my son. See you later.